Okay. So according to this, I am now on air. Let's see if this will work now. Let's move my camera down a little bit. You don't need to see everything in my room. Okay, anyway. Hey folks, I'm Pruitt. I hope y'all are doing alright. I have a few minutes of editing that I can try to get in before I get back to some of my other tasks. And I wanted to just go through some of my drone images that I haven't gone through in a little while. I'm a little bit behind. As you can see, this thing is dated from February of this year. And yeah, I'm just playing catch up. But let's just go ahead and try to power through this as best we can and make this image a little more presentable, if you will. And also, I want to say thank you to everybody that has been subscribed and that's been liking and sharing and reposting and all of that. I appreciate all of the support that comes from everybody. I'm going to keep doing this stuff, and hopefully you'll continue to enjoy it. All right. So now let's go ahead and just hop into this edit. So I have, again, some drone shots. And as I mentioned in my previous video, I like to shoot them in a semi-burst mode because I can stack them up. And it makes it a lot better on the processing. So I think I'll just be working with these 3 images here. So what I like to do is I'll mark them so I can spot them a little bit easier on my timeline. Well, that's not a timeline, but you know what I mean. Okay. So let's go ahead and hop into this thing. First things first, always dehaze. Always dehaze. Never do anything else before I dehaze. Okay. And if you're in the chat room, feel free to chat with me. I'm watching that, and I'll gladly answer any questions that you may have and respond to any comments. Now, you notice I'm selecting a DJI camera profile. I don't have a DJI camera, but the particular drone that I have, it's really close to the Phantom 3 camera profile, so that's why I work with it. If you see when I turn this off, the image bows a little bit because of the vignetting. So turn that back on and it flattens it out to a more proper image. Not a lot of distortion. So I'm going to power through this real quick here. I think the exposure is okay. I don't mind it being a little bit dark, but I do want to bring the shadows up some so you have a little bit of range, dynamic range here. So you notice when I turn the shadows back to what they were, I lose the detail here in the bottom. I want to be able to see a little bit of this small town. Not everything, but a little bit. And then I like to adjust the whites and black levels to help with the contrast some. And let's see, next we'll take a look at the clarity. Clarity can be sort of hit or miss. Sometimes you can crank it up really, really high and it gives it a super crispy look, but also it can give it a little bit of a fantasy or comic book look. And depending on what you're shooting, that works all right. I don't want to do too much of the clarity on this one here. You know, see, if I crank it up like that, it almost looks like a comic book. I don't want it that high. So I'll go down maybe about 25. That'll work. Saturation is another thing that, you know, if you overdo it, it just, in my opinion, I don't think it looks right. but I do like to turn it all the way up just to take a look and then dial it back. Pardon me. Okay. So we'll do just a little bit. All right, noise. I like inside of Lightroom how you get this little preview here so you can really see where the noise artifacts are. You know, if I didn't zoom in like that, I could just use this screen right here as a reference. So let's clean out these noise artifacts. Yeah, that's looking better. And this will make printing look so much better when you don't have noise and you have a good balance between noise reduction and sharpness. Okay. So for the most part, I think this is okay where it is now. Let's take the highlights down just a little bit. I like that when I take the highlights down, I'm able to see the rays a little more pronounced in this image. So that way it just sort of looks blown out, but reducing those highlights really brings out the sun rays. Okay, I think I'm good to go here. Alignment seems to look all right. Yeah, that'll work. I guess I'll crop too, because right there on the right you see a little bit of the mountain, but not all of the mountain, so that's sort of pointless. So I'm just going to get rid of it. First, I'm going to turn off of this aspect ratio lock. So I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'll just bring this in a little bit more. That'll work. There. And see, I like to use the crop guides there because of the whole rule of thirds. And granted, the rule of thirds is not a rule. It's just a decent guideline to try to follow. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. It just doesn't help. But it's a guideline, so just use it as such. I hate it when photographers and photography nerds want to always stress the rule of third, the rule of third, the rule of thirds. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. It's art, you know? Don't be so rigid with it. Okay, boost this camera profile some. There. Okay, so I like this so far, but I'm not done with it yet. So I'm going to apply all of that touch up to all three of these images. Okay, that's done. And now I'm going to edit these as layers inside of good old Photoshop, because there's more work to be done. If Photoshop decides to open up today. Any day now. Okay, thank you. Oh, Anthony Farrier. Hey, man. Yes, I am a big fan of Snapseed. Snapseed at one time was my all-time favorite photo editor on the mobile side. But I don't use it as much now because I use Lightroom Mobile 9 times out of 10. But Snapseed does have a place in my heart. It's still installed on my devices because every now and then it's something that it may do fairly quickly that I can use it for. And so I'm not going to get rid of it or anything like that. Thanks for watching, and appreciate you asking a question. All right, I got these images in here. Let's go ahead and make them bigger. And we're going to change the setting here. Make this thing about 175. So they're going to be huge, humongous, 300 pixels per inch. Okay, cool. And now that I made them bigger, I need to zoom out some. Okay. And then we'll get to the fun mode of making sure they're properly aligned. And of course, 9 times out of 10, they are not. And this will fix that. As you see, we got these little transparency edges there. So let's just crop out those transparent edges as little or as much as you would like to. I'm going to go right about there. And right about there. And then a touch over there. Dang, not too much. There we go. Cool. Okay, and then we'll get super nerdy. And we'll make these into smart objects. So what I'm going to do now is just use this stack to try to draw out as much detail as possible and clean up any type of noise that may still be there. Photoshop does all of that magic for you. You don't have to do a whole lot of manual editing in there for this stuff. But depending on how big your image is, it can take it a couple minutes to process that. So now you see it's a smart object now. It's not 3 images together. It's not 3 images. It's just 3 of them sort of merged together. Oops, layer, smart objects, stack mode, mean. And let's see if this cleans it up some. Yeah, I dig that. It almost gave it a little bit of a long exposure look. The clouds sort of move just a little bit, has a little bit of blur in them, and I like that. So we'll work with that. And now I will flatten it to where it's one image, but I'm going to do a little more sharpening. So I'm going to duplicate this layer twice and use the old trusty high pass filter and Gaussian blur, also known as frequency separation, to further sharpen this image. But to sharpen, you got to start with the blur. That should be okay. Actually, I need to make that a smart object. Okay, and then I'll make this one a smart object. And what's happening is I'm going to use these 2 layers again as part of the frequency separation. Holy crap, that is Max Ridgway in the house. Man, I must be doing something right if Max is watching. Y'all be sure to check out Max Ridgway on YouTube. He does some outstanding tutorials when it comes to cinematography and motion graphics, man. And I love his delivery too. So be sure to check out Max Ridgway. All right, so what I was going to do is make these 2 part of my frequency separation to try to clean up this image. So we'll do a Gaussian blur on that first level, layer. And then we'll do a high pass filter on this layer, but I'm not going to touch that just yet. Let me push this up just a little more. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, now we'll do a high pass filter on this one. And it totally grays out your screen, but that's just fine. Then we hit OK. Don't freak out about the gray screen. You just have to change your blending mode for that high pass filter layer to linear light. And woo, that is a sharp image, but you know, I think it might be a little too sharp. So I'm going to turn that back just a touch. Actually, let's just go all the way down to where it's blurry. All right, so it's blurry. And it makes it a lot easier to sharpen it when you see how bad it looks to begin with. Then you can find the happy medium. So right there, yeah, I think about 3 pixels is pretty good. Yeah, so you can see the detail in the church in this little small town a lot better. I'll zoom in. See that? That's a lot clearer now. And then I usually just sort of group them together this way so I can see a difference between the original. And it's just slightly better. Not too much, but that will work. So now I'm going to merge this group like that. And then I'm going to duplicate it yet again because I have an idea that I want to try. I think I want to put like a zoom on the sky here. So that's going to make me be a little more creative. Let me do one more copy just to be safe. Okay. All right, so click on that layer and get my selection tool. You can do W or just click right there. And I'm only going to select the sky like that. Okay. And then you can wipe away the extra selections. Okay, so that looks all right. Then I like to put a little bit of a feather on there just so it doesn't look so rough. And we'll do about 5 pixels of work. There's a selection in the middle. I don't need that. Let's get rid of that selection. No, go away. There you go. Yeah, you don't need a selection within your selection. Jeez, come on, Photoshop. Get it together. All right, so we'll do a blur here. We'll make it radial. Now, this is a lot of fun. Change this to best. And punch that up. It's about 20. And you see how it uses these little zoom lines so you can gauge how much blur is going to be there. Don't want to go too much. And then you can move the center point to sort of match your scene. And I think it'll look better if my center point is closer to where the sun is. Give it a little more drama. We'll do that. Probably should have made it a smart object just in case I have to fix it. Yeah, that's okay. Let me undo that. And then we're going to make it a smart object because it makes it a lot easier to come in and fix these things. Any day now, Photoshop. Holy crap, time has flown. I don't need to be on this live stream much longer. Okay, so now this is a smart object. I'm going to add another blur, radial blur. Put it like that. Best. And I'm going to crank it up really high, like this. Now. And since I did a selection, it's only put in that blur inside of that selection. It's not going to affect the lower part of the image. It's only going to affect the sky. There we go. I like that. So now I have this top layer, and I can put a layer mask on. And I'll hit B for my brush tool. And then I can just nicely brush in. Let's make it a soft brush. You see the hardness is set to 0. There. And I can just nicely brush in those clouds as much or as little as I'd like. Yeah, see, now that I look at it, I don't like it that way. But since I made it a smart object, I can scale it back some. What about that? Yeah, still not as much as I'd like. Scale it back a little more. Sometimes you can overdo it, you know? Okay. That's getting a little bit better. I guess I didn't need to put as much blur on this thing, so let's take it down to about 10. Let's just see what happens with the clouds. Okay, yeah, that's a little better. All right, so I'll stay on my layer mask here, and I'll continue to lightly brush in. And I'm not going to use my mouse for this. Again, I'm going to use my Wacom tablet, which reminds me they sent me another one to try out while I was out of town last week. So I'll be trying that out fairly soon and letting y'all know how that goes. Yeah, I think this looks a little better this way. And just soften that some, like that. Okay. And then maybe if I take the opacity down just a touch. Maybe like that. I think that looks all right. Whoa, didn't mean to do that. And just brush it in. Get a little bit of drama with it like that. Cool. All right, so that's one way to work with this thing. So I'm going to save this with the good old Control S. And as soon as it's done, saving up there, because this is a huge file now, I will close Photoshop, and this will now open up in Lightroom with my new touch-ups. And you see this thing just grew in size. All right. So I will continue with a little more touch-up, such as some dodging and burning. We'll say burn. I'm going to add it right there. And I want to darken just a little bit in between these rays to try to bring the rays out a little bit more, like that. Gotta be careful though. See, I don't want to overdo it. I think that looks fair enough. Yeah, maybe I overdid it, so I will erase some of it like that. Okay. All right. Well, that's the start on this. I actually need to get off of this live stream. Thank you again for watching. Hopefully this was something that was helpful for you all, but I just wanted to share a little bit of the behind the scenes of my little workflow. So hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Thank you so much for all of that. And I'll catch y'all on the next video. Peace out.